Yes, what's going on, peeps, man? We are back in the building. Yes, you guys can hear that I have a slight cold. I'm recording this video prior to the Community Shield, by the way. So, obviously, today we're talking about Rio Ngumoha. What's next for him and his career? Do you know what I mean? In terms of, for Liverpool, still so young. We don't really know as to how far he can obviously go in the game. He's obviously shown us at this current moment in time that he is a player that, yeah, he's got something about him. He's got something about him, man. And I think heading into this season, I've seen a little bit of news in regards to him in terms of whether or not he can obviously be in the first team or not. I think Paul Joyce put out a statement or tweet the other day talking about he will be considered as a first team player next season. So I said that's really good for him. Do you know what I mean? In terms of he's only 16 years of age. Obviously, we've only really seen him playing in like the under 18s, the under 21s, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the fact that Slot has kind of, put that kind of onus on him to say, you know what, we think you're ready. We actually genuinely believe that you're ready to make that next step up. We feel like with the group of players that we've got currently, you can obviously, step in and yeah, I think you can obviously help us out, this season. Yeah, for me, it's a good look. It's a good look, man. Arne Slot obviously talking again. This is all prior to the game on Sunday. Talking about Rio, and he's saying, Rio is just enjoying pre-season now. People are obviously positive about him, but will he do the work today, tomorrow, every single day? Or is he going to enjoy and look at what everybody's writing about him? Mo Salah just one focus every day. Same with Virgil. That's something that you need to learn. That is a great challenge for Rio, and he has great role models inside the team, but not only Virgil and Mo Salah. And I think, yeah, that's 100% true, man. I think he's got players within the team who he can kind of look up to and be like, okay, cool. So this is what these men are doing in training. Oh, this is why Virgil and Mo Salah can last this long, in top level football, because these are the little things that they're doing. Obviously, we're not privy to the stuff that they do behind the scenes, but he is. So he can obviously see that. And he's still young, you know what I mean? He's still got to find himself. What type of person are you? You know what I mean? And I mean that in a human aspect, not even in a football aspect, because these guys are still human beings. So what type of person are you? Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, I don't know his family and stuff like that. What are they like? Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you like with the other guys? Are you one of the good guys? Are you one of those, meh, I'm doing my thing? Do you know what I mean? You do, like, who knows? Obviously, we're not privy to all of that stuff. But when I watch him and look at the way he is and speak to a few people who obviously know him, yeah, he seems like he's a well-grounded kid. And he seems like someone who, yeah, he's got a big future ahead. He's got a really big, future. Yeah, when we're looking at him, obviously left winger, we know, with what's his name? Luis Diaz. I can almost forget. With Luis Diaz obviously leaving the football club, I wouldn't say opened up a space, so to speak, but it kind of has, because obviously if Luis Diaz was obviously still here, then Rio wouldn't be getting really much of a sniff, if I'm being 100% honest. And now it's just between himself and Gakpo. This is obviously at the time of this video. Who knows if Liverpool, go in for someone else? But I don't know. I feel like Liverpool will probably, obviously, we want to go in for Alexander Isak. That's the player that we obviously want to buy. It looks like we put all of our eggs into that basket in itself. So it looks like the left wing isn't going to be an area that we're going to need to look at this current moment in time. Obviously, things can change in 12 months' time and all that kind of stuff. But at this current moment in time, it does look like it's just going to be between Rio and Gakpo. Now, obviously, Gakpo is Gakpo. Let's not, you know what I mean? As much as he's not really my kind of player in that kind of sense. And if I'm being honest, like I said before, with Luis Diaz, if I had to pick, I would have picked Gakpo to leave, to be honest. And I actually think it would have been better in terms of for Rio's development had Gakpo left instead, just because of the age of Luis Diaz. And it would have just been a bit easier to then maybe transition, someone like Rio into the team. But listen, it is what it is. Luis Diaz is gone and you've got Gakpo. Now, Gakpo obviously last season was very consistent. Well, he was more consistent, shall I say. He was more consistent in terms of scoring, assisting, being a bit more effective. You know what I mean? He didn't have that many games where he was a ghost. He had those games, but it wasn't like before where he would ghost more time. He would ghost more often than not, and we would rarely see the consistency kind of thing. So last season it was more consistent and less ghosting. So let's see, obviously, what happens this season. Maybe Gakpo goes up to another level. Who knows? I haven't got a clue, but I do think that this will be a good battle. This will be a good battle. But the fact that I'm even talking about this even being a battle in the first place is, in my head, is a little bit wild, because it's like, imagine Rio ain't played no, like, hardly any football, senior football anyway, in terms of for the first team. I mean, what's that? You've got one FA Cup game. He hasn't played in the EFL Cup. Yeah, that's it. Just the one FA Cup game that he's obviously played for Liverpool in terms of senior first team appearances. So we're not talking about a player that, he's been coming off the bench and this, that, and the third, and he's gotten used to this, he's gotten used to that. He still needs to even understand as to how Arne Slot even wants the team to play, as well as then developing your own style of play within that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, Slot, as I say, these guys are behind the scenes. So Slot sees something in Rio and I said, nah, I think Rio is going to be a top star. And I think he can obviously help us out now. Do you know what I'm saying? And for me, that's, again, like I say, that's fantastic, because I rate Rio a lot. And I think I've mentioned this before when and I don't want to go too much into that, but I mentioned this before in a video that I did, talking about Rio, his style of play, and, just taking like a scouting look at him. And I said, like, teams like Barca, teams like Dortmund, Benfica, Ajax, and all these kind of teams, right, around, and there's more, probably like Club Brugge and, teams of that kind of ilk, right? Those teams, they put a lot more faith into their youth systems than I would even say English teams do. And what I mean by that is, in English teams, you got, like, let's say the best youth teams out there that I would know off the top of my head is like Man City's, the Chelsea's, Arsenal's. There's probably more out there. Crystal Palace, maybe. Nah. I don't know if they got a good youth team like that, but there's probably more out there. And obviously, people in the comment section can let me know. But anyways, you see those type of teams, yeah, they'll produce bare youngsters. Chelsea especially, and Manchester City, they'll always produce youngsters. They just always, like, when I say produce, they'll always have youngsters in their academy. The difference is that they don't trust them like the other teams that I mentioned, like the Barca's, the Dortmunds, the Benficas, the Ajaxes, Club Brugge's, and all these other teams. They don't trust them the same way. So where they don't trust them the same way, you don't really see many people coming through the academy. Now, it's not to say that there isn't people in the academy. It's just that they're not trusting them. The Premier League is obviously a bit different. The amount of money has ruined it in that sense for youth team football, because there's so much on the line with the amount of money that's obviously there. It then makes it more difficult for clubs to be like, you know what, I'm gonna just try and get as many youngsters as I can, possibly come through, but still remain somewhat competitive, like a Dortmund in their league. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Dortmund can do that. Dortmund, how many bloody youngsters have Dortmund had in their team? Do you get what I'm trying to say? We just saw Gittins move to Chelsea. They even had Makuku, who at one point was probably like the biggest wonder kid we've seen in a minute. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, they've had other players who have obviously come through that youth system, and just players in general, young players who go there to develop, like the Jadon Sancho's, Jude Bellingham's, of this kind of world, right? Premier League teams just don't really do that. Now, the problem that you're going to find with that is that in my opinion, there's going to become a short supply of top talent at some point in time. I.e., when I say short supply, it'll be like for the rest. So the top teams may have all the talent, but you can't have all the talent. Do you know what I'm saying? Man City have got Haaland. Yeah, I mean, right now Newcastle have got Alexander Isak. Yeah, maybe Liverpool can get him in. Maybe. You know what I mean? Arsenal have now got Gyökeres. Like, there's only so much of top talent that's even available. Whereas youngsters are always coming through. Youngsters are all, like, in terms of, there's just always a lot of people, youngsters in the academies and stuff like that. Whether they're good or not, obviously remains to be seen. But there's going to always be an influx of youngsters and stuff like that. Until we start normalizing, I guess. And again, I don't know how you do that. Maybe there's got to be a ruling in or something like that. But until we start to normalizing, having younger players within the squads, England are never really gonna have like top teams and stuff like that. That's why the Spains, the Germanys, and the Frances and stuff, like, these men grow together. Spain especially. Spain is the one I know off the top of my head. These don't grow together under 12s, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, under 21. And then you see from the under 21s, most of that team then goes to the first team. Guess what? Then that first team now wins the Euros, the World Cup. And then we're all sitting there like, oh my God, like how did they do that? It's because they've been doing this together for time. In England, we don't really do that when we're talking about just the England national team as an example. Unfortunately, we don't have we're a culture that is built up of many different cultures. And I know I'm probably going a bit too deep in that, and this is obviously about Rio, but this all ties into it, right? We're a country that's built up of like a lot of different cultures. Fortunately, unfortunately. So it's got its pros, it's got its cons, right? And I'm not going to go too deep into that. But it's got its pros, it's got its cons. Because we don't have like a staple in this country in terms of when I talk about football, like, okay, this is the philosophy, this is the style. Now I know everyone says, oh yeah, but we're like Sunday league and kick it. I hear all of that, but that's like to me, it's just not it's a staple for Sunday league and that, but it's not a staple in English culture in football terms at the top level anyway. It's not. It really isn't because teams are not playing like that. What teams are doing is we're trying to do a cut. We're trying to copy and paste Pep Guardiola. That's effectively that's what we're all copying. Like he's at the top of the tree, and we're all branches. We're all branches. England are very near the bottom of that branch in terms of style of football. Not players because we've got players, but in terms of style of football. Unfortunately, in our makeup, it's just I can't say I don't want to say we can't do that because it's not a question of can't do that. It's just going to be very difficult to almost change your football genetic makeup. And obviously, I'm talking about the English players. So where we will have Phil Foden, Cole Palmer's, skillful players like that, right? Who we probably think, yeah, they could probably go into like a Spain or another type of team and maybe blossom potentially. I don't know, but just in terms of stylistically, when you actually deeper, I'm like, probably not, because their man haven't been drilled from young how to play that type of football. They can probably do it now, but it's been in these lot psyche, Gavi, Pedri, Lamine Yamal, like Morata. It's been in his psyche from day dot. So them man already, it's like second nature to them. You get what I'm trying to say? And I say all of that to say this is why I always feel with like English clubs, and especially in the Premier League, this is why we're not really seeing that many youngsters, and this is why we get overgassed. Like, oh my God, Phil Foden was the best thing since sliced bread. He was the best thing. All of a sudden now, man are telling, yeah, Phil Foden got to get out of the England team. Tuchel, don't pick him. Rare tear because he's going for a little bit of a bad patch and stuff like that. Didn't have a good season last season. All of a sudden, he's just not good enough. Cole Palmer is now the new shiny toy. Everybody rates him. Oh my God, Cole Palmer is so sick and he's world class, even though he's not. Like all of these kind of superlatives, right? But Bukayo Saka was before that. Like as soon as a youngster gets to the certain kind of level, I just don't feel like with England we nurture it properly. Like I even feel like with Lamine Yamal, like Spain and Barca, they know that this guy's a Don Dada, right? But I don't see the same level of like gasness. If anything, I always feel like the people who gas like a Lamine Yamal the most isn't even from Barca. It'll be like from pages like I see on social media, like a Champions League page or like just a page that obviously shows like youngsters or just it won't be from the Spanish team. It won't be from Barcelona, so to speak. It'll be from others who are gassing him. But I don't really feel like they're doing too much of that, inside the camp, kind of thing. And maybe it's just because it's the culture, maybe it's the team or whatever. But that's something that in England, we've just got to try and just chill. Max Dowman at Arsenal fans, rightly so, by the way, because just like Rio, they're fantastic. They look like fantastic prospects. Just chill though. Just chill though. Yeah. I'm trying to say, like, unfortunately, they're not even on the Lamine Yamal level, and those are the only youngsters man's looking at. I'm not looking at anything below that. And I say that again because that level is the level that these guys should be aspiring to. Lamine Yamal was 15, 16 playing for Barca. Max Dowman and Rio ain't doing that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know what I mean? And they're far from doing that. Now, whether you can say it's just because of the team, context, all of that, I hear it. But guess what? Lamine Yamal is one of the best players in the world now. That took him about a year and a half, 2 years probably to kind of really cement that. 2 years. Imagine that. So imagine what these guys might potentially look like in 2 years' time. Someone like Rio. I think Rio could be one of those type of players that where you're looking at him thinking, yo, this brother's sick. And I know everyone talks about age and you can't. this age thing is a bullshit conversation, man. It's an absolute bullshit conversation. If we were to like reel all of the players, young players who have come through, and again, I've spoken about this before, and I've spoken about Rio. I'm not even talking about the Lionel Messi's and all them guys. I'm talking about James Milner. How about that? 16 years of age, had a fantastic career. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, there's players out there, and then if you want to then go to the other ones, the Wayne Rooney's, the Cesc Fabregases, and all of these kind of players, of course, you're going to see them kind of players from young. Now, those kind of players, to be fair, they finished their career a little bit earlier, didn't last into their late 30s and stuff like that, to my knowledge. Not all of them anyway. But that's irrelevant. Who cares? You don't need to last into your late 30s. Again, that's if you want to, then great. But if you've had a great career prior to that, no one cares. No one really cares. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think Rio is good enough at this moment in time. Now, there's obviously been a little bit of news potentially, and again, I'm filming this prior to the Community Shield, just so that you understand. But apparently, I heard that Rio might potentially start. So once I post it, I'm going to post this video, maybe even on the day of the Community Shield. I haven't decided yet. But either way, when we're looking at someone like Rio, I think Liverpool fans should be excited. They should be happy that we didn't nurture him. Let's not lie. That's all Chelsea. So I have to give 100% of the credit to Chelsea. But he's smart enough to understand that at Chelsea, you're not really probably going to get a look. I mean, unless they genuinely believe that he was that good, which they probably didn't, because they obviously didn't try and keep him like that. He obviously looked at it and said to himself, yeah, no, it's I can see a pathway more so at Liverpool, which makes sense. We're not like Chelsea. We don't have a revolving door of managers. We don't have a revolving door of players. We don't bulk buy. You know what I mean? Like, this is Costco. Like, we don't do none of that stuff. Chelsea do. So here, yeah, there's a pathway. And if I'm being real, when you look at the quality of Liverpool's youth team to Chelsea's youth team, he definitely knew that if he came to Liverpool, yeah, I'm gonna make it through. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So, yeah, smart decision, smart choice, and clever for your career. Yeah, I'm saying, fuck whatever over there. This is for my career, and he's been smart in his choices. So yeah, man, I've got big hopes for Rio. I'm gonna be pushing that Rio agenda quite a lot this season. So hopefully he can get his game time, and hopefully he can just kind of show that he can do his thing, man. And I think he's gonna show everybody that, yeah, I am a Don Dada, and I can actually really do this thing out here. So let's wait and see. But obviously we're gonna need Arne Slot to play his part. If Slot doesn't want to play him, then there's not much he can do. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to hope that this season we're going to see a lot more rotation. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I'm not saying needless rotation, because if Gakpo's on form, then play Gakpo. But I'm just saying we need some level of rotation in order to be able to allow someone like Rio to be able to thrive and develop. But let's wait and see, man. Let's wait and see. Let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think? Obviously, what's next for Rio? You know what you guys can do in the comment section? Put how many games you think Rio will play next season, or this season coming up now. How many games do you think he'll play? Do you think it will only be 10? Forget about off the bench, just it's all included, right? So how many games do you think he'll play? 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40? You know what I mean? Let me know in the comment section, people, and I'll catch you guys soon for another What's Next. Peace.